Well, the Atlanta Braves are off to a surprisingly disappointing start to the season. Sitting at a 9-13 record as of today, April 23, 2025, but beyond the struggles on the field, the internal drama surrounding the team has reached a new level this week. The controversy that began with a player's lack of hustle, a manager's response, and a superstar's deleted tweet has now seen one of the team's own in-house broadcasters publicly weigh in with extremely strong, some might say explosive, opinions. Let's quickly recap how we got here. Over the weekend, Braves outfielder Kelenic was thrown out at second base after failing to hustle out of the batter's box on a deep fly ball that hit the wall. Manager Brian Snitker did not bench Kelenic for this lack of hustle. This drew a comparison to a similar play in 2019 where Snitker did bench Ronald Acuña Jr. for not hustling. Acuña Jr., currently recovering from injury, responded to this perceived double standard with a now-deleted tweet stating, "If it were me, they would take me out of the game." Acuña Jr. has since been suspended 3 games upon his return for that tweet. Now, Braves broadcaster and former MLB player Jeff Francoeur has jumped into the fray. And he did not hold back. Speaking on The Jeff Francoeur Show, on the Atlanta Braves radio network, Francoeur sounded off on Acuña Jr.'s tweet. He called the social media post completely meaningless and stupid. Francoeur's main point was that while Acuña Jr. is sidelined recovering, the 26 guys who are playing are busting their butts every single day, taking criticism for the team's poor start, and they don't need their teammate adding fuel to the fire with tweets from afar. There are 26 guys in that locker room that are busting their ass every single day. And you got a guy who's supposed to be your teammate tweeting, probably out in LA, something that is completely meaningless and stupid. Francoeur also took issue with a column by The Athletic's Ken Rosenthal, headlined, "In calling out Brian Snitker's double standard, Ronald Acuña Jr. had a point." Francoeur called Rosenthal's column, "the dumbest article I've ever seen." He then launched into a vigorous defense of manager Brian Snitker. Francoeur strongly pushed back against any implication of racial bias in Snitker's handling of players, mentioning Snitker's long history in baseball and seeing him weep at Hank Aaron's funeral as evidence of his character. He argued that there's crucial context missing when comparing the Kelenic and Acuña situations. Here's where Francoeur revealed a previously unknown and significant detail. According to Francoeur, Kelenic spent a half-hour in Brian Snitker's office on Easter Sunday morning, crying and apologizing for his lack of hustle. Francoeur used this to argue that while Snitker's public answer, "Was I supposed to?" might not have been great, the manager did address the issue internally with Kelenic, just not with a benching. So there's your context on that. Francoeur continued his criticism of Acuña Jr. by reminding listeners about Acuña's past hustle issues. He claimed Acuña received, time after time after time, after time, let's talk, like, 10 times, warnings to run before he was finally benched in 2019. This was contrasted with Kelenic's situation being a first instance. Francoeur then accused Acuña Jr. of basically buried a teammate by tweeting about Kelenic's play, arguing that Acuña brought national attention to something that otherwise might not have become a major story. So not only that, you buried a teammate by tweeting about this. Francoeur also brought up a past incident from 2018, correcting the article's 2019 reference, during a beanball war with the Marlins where Snitker was reportedly the first one out of the dugout defending Acuña Jr. and yelling at the opposing manager. Francoeur seemed to question how Acuña could forget that loyalty from his manager so quickly. Beyond this, Snitker has also reportedly benched other players for hustle issues in the past, including Ender Inciarte in 2018 and Marcell Ozuna in 2023. Further adding to the discussion about his consistency, or lack thereof, in enforcing this standard, Snitker argued that each instance presents unique circumstances, meaning there isn't one universal rule for every single play. Now, the consequences of Acuña Jr.'s public criticism have become clear. Reports indicate that the Atlanta Braves organization is suspending Ronald Acuña Jr. for 3 games. This suspension will take effect upon his activation from the injured list and return to the team. This is a significant disciplinary measure by the Braves, showing that even their biggest star is not exempt from consequences for public criticism of the manager. especially via social media. It sends a clear message about the expected conduct for players, regardless of their status. It's important to remember the context of Acuña Jr.'s current situation. He is currently on the injured list, recovering from a torn ACL in his left knee that he suffered last May. He underwent surgery and has been working his way back. He was recently cleared to begin cutting, a major step in his rehabilitation, and is expected to return to the Braves lineup sometime next month. His focus should ideally be solely on his recovery and preparing for his return to help the team. The Braves could certainly use their MVP back. Acuña Jr. had a relatively tough 2024 season before his injury, batting only .250 with 4 home runs in 49 games. A significant drop from his incredible 2023 MVP season where he hit 41 homers, stole 73 bases, and batted .337. The Braves as a team are also off to a surprisingly disappointing start this season, sitting in last place in the NL East, multiple games behind the division-leading New York Mets. This poor start puts added pressure on everyone in the organization, players, manager, and front office, making internal controversies like this particularly unwelcome. It's also worth noting that Snitker himself admitted he wasn't watching the Kelenic play closely when it happened, only seeing video later, which adds another layer to the discussion about his initial response and subsequent actions. This controversy adds another layer of difficulty to a team that is already struggling and awaiting the return of its best player. It creates an awkward dynamic between the superstar and the manager that will need to be addressed internally and potentially navigated publicly. Acuña Jr. is facing discipline for a social media post that highlighted a perceived double standard in managerial handling of hustle, while Snitker defends his approach as situational, and Francoeur defends Snitker vehemently. The public nature of the criticism from his own player, especially via a quickly deleted tweet that was screenshotted and spread widely, has led directly to this suspension and this very public debate. It's a stark reminder that in the age of social media, even a quickly deleted thought, driven by frustration over perceived unfairness, can lead to significant consequences for a professional athlete and create unwanted drama for a team trying to get its season back on track. The Braves will now have to navigate this internal issue as they try to turn their season around and integrate their MVP back into the lineup.
Welcome to Braves Drama 101, where our star-studded roster is less dynasty and more daytime soap. This week, Ronald Acuña Jr., yes, the 3-time MVP and ACL rehab project, decided to play Twitter manager by blasting Brian Snitker's decision not to bench rookie Jared Kelenic for a hustle lapse. Acuña tweeted, "If it were me, they would take me out of the game," then promptly deleted it faster than a popped bubblegum bubble. Cue stadium buzz and national headlines. Enter Jeff Francoeur, former Brave and current radio voice, who didn't just sip his Gatorade quietly. Oh no, he poured the whole jug. On his show, he went full lecturer at mandatory meeting, calling Acuña's post completely meaningless and stupid. According to Frenchie, there are 26 other guys in that clubhouse busting their butts. Somebody's got to remind them. "You buried a teammate," he boomed, referencing Kelenic's tears and half-hour solo session in Snitker's office. Apparently, behind those tears was a textbook scene: Krispy Kreme donuts, self-reflection, and a heartfelt "I'm sorry, Skipper." Francoeur then did a quick rerun of Snitker's Hall of Fame life, crying at Hank Aaron's funeral, battling the Marlins in beanball wars, and general baseball Yoda-level wisdom. "This man is 50 years deep in baseball," he reminded listeners. "You don't get to question his hustle cred." Contrast that with Rosenthal's headline touting Acuña's double standard point. Francoeur called it the dumbest article I've ever seen. He argued that if Acuña had kept his digital trap shut, nobody outside Atlanta would have batted an eye. Instead, the tweet landed on every national feed, and now we're all talking about it. Meanwhile, the Braves sit at 9-13, tied for last in the NL East, and hoping the only drama they see soon is playoff bound, not Twitter bound. Yes, they still have talent to turn it around, but when broadcasters feel compelled to publicly school your future Hall of Famer, you know it's time for a clubhouse Wi-Fi lockdown, and maybe an extra hustle drill. Because in Atlanta, hustle lapses are serious business, whether you're a rookie learning the ropes or a superstar tweeting from Los Angeles.